I have 9 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. So thank you all for being here this morning. This is our third of 4 Quadrant meetings where we're just trying to share information on the Fly Quiet Committee's work to date, talk about some of the recommendations and action that's been taken so far, and then outline next steps for both the Fly Quiet Committee and the full commission. And then Ryan's going to give us a brief presentation, and after that there will be an opportunity for any questions that anyone has in regards to the program, next steps, general Fly Quiet, anything you can think of. So Ryan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let me pull up the slides. As Chairwoman Robles mentioned, we'll be going over the work that the Fly Quiet Committee has accomplished to date, as well as the plan moving forward. Just to update you on the process and where we're at, the Fly Quiet Committee is now close to finalizing a recommendation for the new Fly Quiet program, something they've been working on for many years. The committee has developed, reviewed and revised multiple alternatives over the past several years, and is now putting the final touches on their recommendation. Once the committee is ready to make their final recommendation, they will look to the full ONCC to vote to approve and request the CDA submit the new program for FAA review. Now, this committee, again, has been working on this for many years, and the city's team has been documenting everything along the way. And so the final submittal will be a very comprehensive document that provides a complete narrative of the entire process, including all the alternatives the committee has reviewed and considered. And so the goal here is we'll be looking to continue the process of kind of putting the final touches on with some additional language that'll be included in the submittal. We started that process this week at the meeting earlier this week. We'll continue that in the May meeting, and then be looking for the June meeting for a vote, a committee recommendation vote. Again, the committee has moved through their refinement process. They have refined, they had advanced 2 alternatives, alternatives B and H, and had gone through an extensive refinement process of both alternatives in order to get them into a state that the committee feels closely captures the intent and the criteria that was established by the committee to create a new Fly Quiet program. And so we are now working on the procedural, operational, and implementation recommendations to be included in the submittal. And we'll continue that discussion again through into the May meeting, and hope to have a final recommendation vote by June. And so now I'll go over that, what has been advanced as the preferred alternative or the preferred action that the committee is looking for approval, or will be looking for approval, and that's alternative B3. This alternative, some of the major components that the committee really thought was beneficial for a new program was a concept of not only rotating runways, but also rotating airfields, as well as departure headings. And so with this proposed program, we're going to have 6 configurations that consist of a primary departure and arrival runway that will be rotated over a 12-week schedule. And that rotation allows the airfield to operate ideally in one segment of the airfield versus the other. So we'll be alternating not only between the west flow and east flow operation conditions, but as well as the north airfield, south airfield, and crosswind configurations. The idea here is to try and isolate operations as best we can into those areas to give predictable relief to the communities around the airport. And so if you live on the, if you're a North Airfield community impacted by North Airfield operations, the idea is you will have weeks where you can expect to have little to no operations immediately in your area. The vector headings were another level of dispersion and rotation that was considered. And so each departure runway has a specific heading to be used when aircraft are departing from that runway. And each departing runway has a second heading to be used in the second iteration of that runway in the schedule. So all of our departure runways have two headings, except for our crosswind runways. It was decided the crosswind runways, due to the compatible land use of the tri-state corridor and the Des Plaines River area, we adopted a vector heading with a turn to be used for those two departure runways, 22 left and 4 left. All of our other departure runways have two vector headings to be alternated throughout the schedule. The full schedule has 8 weeks of the east-west runways and 4 weeks of the crosswind runways. So now I'll step through that schedule to give you an idea of how the schedule works and alternates not only west flow and east flow, but also north airfield and south airfield, as well as the vector headings. And so the schedule starts in week 1 with configuration Q, arriving 27 center and departing 27 left. The 27 left departure utilizes a vector heading of 275 degrees in this first day of the schedule. We also have secondary configurations to be used, which is the reciprocal of the primary in the event that the weather and wind conditions are not conducive to implementing the primary configuration. And then as we move through the schedule, we alternate now to the south airfield, 10 center arrivals, 10 left departures, vector heading of 100 degrees for that 10 left departure in this part of the schedule. We also alternate from west flow to east flow. And then the next week, we have the crosswind configurations of departing 4 left and arriving 4 right. That vector heading, again, that vector heading with a turn for the departures on 4 left. I'll have a graphic coming up that better depicts that procedure. Then we alternate back to the south airfield, departures on 28 right, arrivals on 28 center, with a vector heading of 260 degrees for those 28 right departures. Again, these vector headings not only are assigned to give a specific direction, but also to isolate or attempt to, as best as we can, isolate operations to the north or south airfield. So our 28 right departures will be turning to the south to keep those flights as best we can away from the north airfield communities before they are redirected to waypoints for their final destination. Week 5, we alternate back to the north airfield, 9 center arrivals, 9 right departures, a vector heading of 80 degrees. And then back to the crosswind configurations, arriving 22 right and departing on 22 left with the vector heading with a turn. Now the back end of the schedule is the same configurations. However, we use that second vector heading to allow for more dispersion as well as more rotation in the level of operations in the communities, so that it's not the same from week to week. So again, week 7, same configuration Q, and then we go to week 8, M, and then L, north airfield, south airfield, crosswind. But the difference in our parallel configurations is that we're using a second vector heading with those departure runways. Back to south airfield, north airfield, crosswind. So again, the same pattern of the schedule. The difference on the back end of the schedule is using those second vector headings. And then this graphic gives you an overall picture of all of those departure headings for runways 4 left and 22 left. You can see those vector headings have that kind of a turn to them to keep the flights as best they can over those that 294 corridor. The remaining departure runways have 2 vector headings per runway. You can see each of those vector headings there in the purple arrows. We also have our arrival weeks in red to show the overall picture of the alternative B3. The committee agreed almost unanimously that this alternative best met the criteria that was developed for a new flight quiet program. The vote was 10-1. And so the committee is moving forward with this alternative, again, putting the final touches on a lot of the ancillary topics to be included, to make sure is included, that the committee gets everything they want to be included in a new program submitted to the FAA. And so that is where we are at currently with the committee as we get close to the finish line of developing a new flight quiet program for O'Hare.
Thank you, Ryan. So as Ryan said, this is the culmination of a lot of years of work. I think I am the Northwest Quadrant representative to the Flight Quiet Committee, so happy to answer any questions you have. I just want to make sure you're all aware that we've certainly taken our time, considered the pros and cons of a number of different iterations of what Flight Quiet could look like. And as Ryan mentioned, it was a 10-1 vote that the committee felt very strongly that the B3 alternative was the one that was going to best achieve the goals of the Flight Quiet program going forward. We've now moved on from a committee perspective to talking about procedural topics. We're going to package everything up hopefully early this summer, and then it will go to the full ONCC for a vote. So the goal of today's meeting is really to just bring you all up to speed, make sure you know you can ask any questions of myself, Ryan, Maura, any other Flight Quiet committee members. I think Ernie's with us today as well. So, you know, happy to answer any questions now, but also going forward, please don't hesitate to reach out. So with that, are there any questions I can answer? Hearing none.
I don't
Ernie,
see.
was it? Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say I don't see any in the chat as well.
Ernie, did you have anything you wanted to add today?
No, I think we've covered it, Karen.
Great, thanks for joining us this morning. Okay, well, with that, I don't want to take up any more time than is necessary, but please, we want all of the commission members to feel like they are informed and understand kind of the process and the program that's being proposed when it does come to a full commission vote. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning, and hopefully we'll see you all on May 6th. All right, have a great day.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend, everyone.